there is always something about the way in which when somebody puts on a face that's not theirs, that they can now approach forces in the world that are off-putting to other people, that we would shy away from. I mean, I think this is part of the power of this archetype. Hi everybody, it's time for another archetype video. This week I'm doing the clown, and what a curious archetype this one is. The amount of literature out there on the clown is, I had no idea. So many people wrote doctoral dissertations and master's theses on the role of the clown, the fear of the clown, but before I do a video, I like to just check out what's out there. And I came across some of the most interesting thoughts about what Jung wrote about clowning, and I mean but first, and it gave me time to really think about, I don't like clowns myself, which is why I didn't want to do this video, because this and it turns out I have a little stat here that a survey was conducted by this organization on the fear of clowns. Now, I don't have a fear of clowns. I just don't like them. They creep me out. And they asked 790 females, 197 males, whether they were afraid of clowns, and if so, how afraid and why, etc. And 272 people out of this group expressed that they had a fear of clowns. And of those 272, 50% said the fear was extreme. It was extreme, which is just fascinating. I don't have a fear of them. I just think, well, now the clown, the role of the clown archetype, or the emergence of it, say it goes back thousands of years, thousands. The Egypt's Old Kingdom, 5th dynasty, it's the first known report of a clown within a royal circle. So with that, I want to say the clown has other expressions: the jester, the court jester, the fool, the harlequin. There are others, and we'll get to that in a moment. So clown covers a lot of variations. And 4,000 years ago, there was a Chinese ruler who filled his court with clowns. Just filled it. And this alone, this kind of fascination with masking up and being something else, is really the archetypal chord I want to get to. But also, the Navajo, Pueblo, Zuni, and Hopi peoples had clowns who served in sacred rituals. Now, the archetypal role of the clown, it seems, is that the clown tampers with the polarities of the power of polarities. It tampers with happy and sad, rich and poor, shy and expressive, silliness and seriousness, creating and destroying. So it operates in this theater of power, of transformation. If a clown, how many times you see a clown come up to someone who's got the sad face and they try to make you laugh. You have a happy face and they try and shock you. There is always something about the way in which when somebody puts on a face that's not theirs, that they can now approach forces in the world that are off-putting to other people, that we would shy away from. I mean, I think this is part of the power of this archetype. For example, one of the extensions of the clown is the court jester. And the court jester, excuse me, the court jester was known to speak truth to power, but other people couldn't. They could never talk directly or truthfully to the king. Henry VIII had a court jester. What was his name? Will Sommer. Will Sommer was his name. And he was perhaps one of the more renowned court fools, because as Henry VIII got more and more diseased and more extreme, and went from this young man who wanted to be a magnificent king to the madman that he finally, when he died, he, having started uh, the broken away with Rome to start his own Church of England, and all the upheaval that Henry created, and then slaughtering so many of his friends who couldn't convert to his church and see him, acknowledge him as the head of the church and head of the state. All that upheaval, this particular fool was able to speak to Henry, to absorb his grief, and then whisper maybe a good idea. And if you read the history of court fools, I'm one of the, why would I do? I love this stuff. They had so much power precisely because they disguised themselves as being something other than a human being. They were a fool. So who took them seriously? Therefore, they could take what is serious and deliver it to these volatile leaders who can't bear to hear the truth directly. The court fool. And I think of the many times I've watched these TV programs or read books about the machinations people go through to approach someone in order to deliver a message. We have to wait to the right moment. We have to maybe wait until enough joy has been amassed in the person's life to then deliver something that person could then take, to take the truth. And you almost need a kind of a court fool. You need a clown. You need someone who can disguise bad news in such a way that it can be delivered. And that's part of the power of clowning, is that it can disguise what we don't want to approach directly. Another expression of the clown is the fool. The fool. I mean, now, court jesters are all about speaking truth to power. But a fool is somebody who'll do outrageous things for amusement, for attention, for mockery, for something that how many times you say, what a foolish thing to do, or doesn't that person know how risky that is? The fool. To be fooled by a fool, is one of the great humiliations of life. Yes, isn't it? But the fool is someone who has more of the risk element to him. The trickster is yet another expression of the clown, and the trickster really deserves a category unto itself. The trickster really is a force to reckon with. It is disruptive. I mean, there's the trickster archetype that stands alone, and then there's this trickster clown kind of thing, and that is a trait of being malicious, of being disruptive, and this is this expression. I was only joking. I was only joking. How many times has someone delivered something with a sharp knife and you thought, what did you say? And then they follow it with, I was only joking. That's the trickster right there. I mean, I don't know why you're so upset. I was only joking, right? That's the trickster. And that personality type, that person immediately runs and puts on the disguise of the clown. I was clowning, I was just joking. I don't know why you're so hurt. Or but they're delivering something because they want to disrupt. They want to either create disruption or hurt somebody or say something. I don't know why they're so upset. I mean, I was only joking. No, no. There is a deliberateness that they think they can, and here's the operative word, disguise by this mask of being a trickster or a clown, or immediately taking cover in that archetype. Then there's the hobo. That was really a very popular archetype, archetypal expression of the clown for many years, and especially after the Depression of the 20s, the 30s. I mean, and I remember Charlie Chaplin had some version of that, and that kind of showed the sorrow of that part of people, and yet the hobo seemed to be able to survive. And so that's that aspect. It's humor, survival, and the pain. And because when you think of clowning, I think people think it's always they're fun and they want to make people laugh and they're full of laughter, but that is actually not the truth. That's just nonsense. It is a mask people put on, and it is a costume. And honestly, I think at a here we go, archetypal level, and I hope I can articulate this clearly. At an archetypal level, what is it about putting on a mask or a disguise that allows a person to become something they ordinarily are not? They're ordinarily not. That allows them to speak in a way they ordinarily would not do, right? That's what actors do. They get a role, they put on makeup, they put on clothes, they have a script, and off they go. But with the clown, with that kind of what their task seems to be to deal with the archetype of transformation, to be able to transform, like for example, now they have clown doctors who put on a clown suit to deal with children in hospitals. Patch Adams was I think probably the best known clown doctor, but that is now a subset, if you will, of using clowning as a way to pierce fear and pain in a child or parents, or to approach it to say, well, it's not, he'll make the big bad wolf of disease go away. And so it's not that bad. I'll get through this. And that's the transformative aspect. It's as if this is, I mean, think of, if you could picture, just for the sake of conversation, that there's some kind of huge reality God somewhere, a force of power, that all of our rituals are about dialoguing with that force of power. All of our habits, all of our superstitions, everything is about keeping that power, the bad side of it, at bay, and finding a way to maybe engage the benevolent side of it. But going up to it directly, challenging it, would be unheard of. Challenging the heavens is unheard of. But the clown, in a sense, puts on this disguise as if to say, God won't know who I am. Heaven won't know who I am. And can go up to the challenges of life, to the sadness, to the sorrows, and in almost a mocking kind of way, say, you don't scare me. You don't scare me. I can stand up to whatever forces are out there. That's what the court jester does with the king. You don't scare me, you scare them, but you don't scare me because I'm not really a person to you. I'm just a force dealing with a force. And it's the job of the jester to know exactly how to dance around the psychic content of the king, right? And it's the job of the clown to dance around the emotions that so oftentimes devastate someone. So a clown, for example, is allowed to walk up to someone who's in deep grief or in deep sorrow and say, "Why aren't you smiling?" They won't speak it, but they'll mime it out. You're not smiling. And you couldn't yourself go up to someone and say, "Are you still sad?" Because, like, it's been a while and I'm exhausted with your sadness. I have to tell you, I'm not going to tell you directly, but wow. Ooh. But a clown can go up and go, "Where's the smile? Where's the smile?" And because it's not really an ordinary challenge, oftentimes what a clown can do is break through the unapproachable, the deep suffering, the deep guilt, just punch a hole in it to let in a little air. And sometimes that's all it takes to begin to let that grief come out or that transformation begin. So because they deal with opposites, because they deal with happy and sad and silliness and seriousness and creating and destroying, they're always pulling a person into their own opposites. Opposites. Um, I think they're quite extraordinary in that regard. Then there's the killer clown. That's a whole new genre that, um, but it's here nonetheless. And that's the clown that the destructive clown, the people who put on the mask and use that cover, use that disguise as a way to do malicious things. Like, for example, there's a character, the Joker, in Batman, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's the killer clown. But there's also in real life killer clowns. John Wayne Gacy slaughtered how many young boys? Maybe 25 years ago or something like that, but a horrible human being, and who actually didn't live far from where I live, but just a horrible person. And he earned his reputation as a clown, and people thought he was wonderful. So this idea that the clowns are just these benevolent, fun-loving, there's the role of the disguise is quite intriguing. The capacity to put on a different face and then become a different person in order to express yourself. One of my dearest friends, a forever friend, someone I've known almost 40 years now, more of a sister actually. This person has influenced my life in so many ways because her decisions in life are just so rich and well thought through. She doesn't waste a second of her life. When she turned 60, she said to me, I'm giving myself for my 60th birthday. And of course, everybody, when we turn these milestone birthdays, we think, well, we're going to do this, and I'm going to go sit up on the top of the Eiffel Tower, and I'm going to... She said, I'm going to take a class in clowning. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, I hate clowns. I think they give me the creeps. And she said, and I'm going to get that fear out of my system. And the only way to do it is to become one. So I'm going to take a class in clowning. By God, who would do that, right? She does. That's what I mean about her decisions. That was her birthday present to herself, was to excavate a fear. I mean, this woman is unbelievable, is to excavate a fear. So she did. And I think she took 3 or 4 classes in clowning, and she just got into the whole idea of the uncomfortableness of assuming people wear masks, right? And her field of psychology is getting through what is masked up in language. She's absolutely brilliant. So there we are. I think um, the Joker is yet another variation of the clown. But you know what? It takes great skill, and it takes great artistry and great self awareness to be um, a conscious clown. Let me put it that way. In other words, I think the tendency to um, use humor, use humor as a way, as a language, for example. I mean, what is better than humor? I think humor is like pure gold and medicine, and I just adore my witty friends. And Andrew Harvey just slays me every time. Wit is everything, but Andrew's not a joker. Andrew doesn't have the joker, and he doesn't have the trickster, because nothing's malicious. There's nothing in it. He's not trying to communicate to you something that requires a mask. Something that requires a mask. My senses are heightened when someone disguises a message they want to deliver, but they put it in a smart remark, or they put it, and then they'll say, I didn't mean anything by that. You see, that's the trickster or the joker archetype. And my way is I hit a pause button. I'll say, nah, we're stopping the conversation right here because you did mean that. And so we have to talk about it. Or we won't talk at all, but we're going to talk, because that, the way you're delivering that tells me you were afraid to say that to me in any other way than packaging it as a smartass remark. And that won't do. I'm too old now. I'm too steady in my tracks. Either you speak to me or you don't. You see what I'm saying? And I think that um, the if you have that a touch of the joker or the trickster in you, or even the court jester, you have to be very careful with that, because it's a really powerful aspect. It's a real powerful thing. But if you need to tell people things, be careful that if you're going to, I mean, it's like the court jester. The reason court jesters survived their time near the king is because they learned to work around the psychic field while delivering truth. They didn't compromise truth. I mean, if you read the biography, the biography of, for example, Will Sommers and some other court jesters that were um, written about, you'll see that they were often admired for their incredible skill at being able to maneuver truth to power. And of course, as a result, transform something to the better. Remember, it's about transformation. That one story I read about the Chinese emperor who had all these clowns in his court. Apparently, one of them was able, like a court jester, to get a message through to this emperor that he shouldn't paint the whole length of the Great Wall of China white. That what a foolish waste, what a silly waste. But however it is, he communicated that. But the result was that it saved hundreds and thousands of lives of people who would have been sent to that task, which apparently was the whole point of changing the emperor's mind. Truth to power. I remember going to a show when I was a child that WGN had. It was Bozo the Clown. And I remember when he walked out, and I remember looking at him and seeing this orange hair shooting out, and I think his real name was Bob something or other. But I watched him, and I was a kid. I was just, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old, maybe 8, right? But even at that age, I thought, why does he want to dress up like that? I couldn't figure it out. Yeah. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But I still remember the guy when I was in grade school where the nuns would say, stop clowning around. And somebody would be targeted as the class clown. I still remember that. I still remember this archetype is strong stuff. And I think as I was reading the literature on it, I realized some people really do have the clown archetype. Patch Adams, for example. And I think Robin Williams was absolutely a clown archetype. Absolutely. Danny Kaye was a clown archetype. There's so many where that clowning became an art form, became a language of expression, became a way that they could communicate in their own, in the language of that paradoxical language that is the clown language. So to all of you who have the clown archetype, who have the clown, why don't you become aware? No, I don't want to say it that way. Pay attention to how you change when you put your mask on. What it allows you to say that you don't say when you don't have your mask on. That what is, and that when you put your mask on, does it bring out in you the courage to speak truth to power? And right in there, if I was your spiritual director, we would walk right into that place and say, what is it about truth that scares you so much that you need to mask it in order to deliver it? Can you hear it directly? Yeah. Fascinating. I just love all this archetype stuff. I love it. Thank you for watching these videos. I really am amazed at how popular they've become. I mean, I just started this to chat a little bit with all of you, but it's turned out to be quite fun, and I appreciate your watching. Thank you so much.